Welcome to the Livfiit Listens podcast, a safe space of growth, personal development, and overall wellness with your host, Olivia Catania. Diving into the realms of all things health, conscious living, mental expansion, and much more, this podcast is designed to help you evolve into your best self and live fit. Let's get into the show. What is going on, you guys? Welcome to the absolute first ever Livfiit Listens podcast episode. I can't believe this is actually happening right now, first of all. This is something I've been wanting to do for, at least it's been like in the back of my mind for the past like over a year, I would say. And this is a 2021 goal for the year. And here I am, 2 months left of the year, but we're still getting it done. We're getting after it. So for this first episode, I kind of just wanted to do like an introduction for everything, an introduction to the brand if you weren't super familiar. And just because I actually haven't had the chance to necessarily do that even on my YouTube channel, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are coming from there. And just like the meaning behind the name, behind the mission, behind my logo, all that sort of stuff, just so you guys can actually understand what this is all about, and so you can truly really feel a part of something, and I guess and understand truly the direction that I'm trying to go towards and the movement I'm trying to lead, if you will, to hopefully let you guys feel a little bit more part of it, a little bit more up to speed, and so you can resonate with the brand more. Because I've been asked like if I see myself as an influencer or when will I see myself as an influencer, and to be quite honest, like I don't classify myself as an influencer. More than anything, I see myself as leading a brand. Like that's what's more important to me, is like the brand itself, as opposed to like me being the influencer, if you will. I think, yes, I am the face of this whole ordeal, but I 100% feel like I know, not like I feel like I know that what's most important to me is the overall brand. Like that's what keeps me going day in and day out. Like that's what keeps me motivated, is the overall like idea of this brand, not necessarily feeling like I'm on some sort of like important platform. Does that make sense? So if you're unfamiliar, the main like chunk of my brand name is just Livfiit, but then for the name of this podcast, I came up with Livfiit Listens, just because I love play on words. Like I love when things start with the same letter, and I just wanted Livfiit Listens to represent like the audio branch of my brand, but it's still my brand. It's just an extension of the brand that already is. And where Livfiit came from, actually, you guys are not gonna believe this, but the name Livfiit actually came when I was 17 years old. I'm 22 years old now. I was in high school at the time. I was a senior in high school, and that's when I guess like the world of weightlifting on social media started to emerge into the spotlight, especially for women to be getting into weight training for sure. That was when it was getting hotter, and when females were actually like turning social media and I guess being in the fitness space as a career, whether that being first starting off as, you know, gaining an Instagram platform and a following and then turning that into an actual tangible business. That is what I initially like came across and made me fall in love with this whole entire lane of career. At that time, it was very niche oriented. Not that it's not that way now, but there's definitely a ton more lifestyle pages, lifestyle brands, or just brands that are emergence of different genres of living, if you will. But back then I feel like this is making me seem so old, but back then, like I said, it was much more like kind of segregated is the word that I want to use. And growing up, I've always been super, super active. That was kind of what initially led me into working out independently. I was always like snow skiing, wakeboarding, wake surfing, paddleboarding, hiking, you name it. Like if it was outside and active, I wanted to be participating so badly. So that was kind of how I grew up. I was always in a very active space, and not to toot my own horn, but I loved that about myself, and I still do love that about myself, that I'm kind of, I would say I'm pretty adventurous in that sense, and I'm down to try all these different activities. I just have always really have been fascinated by the active lifestyle. I'm very fascinated by other people who can do like really cool active things, if you will. And so circling back, I thought it'd be so cool to have a platform centered around my overall just active living. So including my snow skiing, my wakeboarding, my wake surfing, my longboarding, my paddleboarding, that sort of thing, in conjunction with my passion for fitness and my discipline with fitness, because I kind of thought it merged my adventurous side and my more disciplined side, but having the same underlying tone of just getting your body moving and staying active. So I came up with the name because obviously my nickname is Liv. My name is Olivia. So people call me Liv, and then everyone and their brother back then. I keep saying that because I don't know what else to refer to it as, but everyone and their brother would of course just put a fit after their username to make a fitness Instagram. So can't say that I didn't join that trend, but my bigger picture of that was the kind of play on words, the concept of living fit. Like, it more so means to live an active lifestyle. You know, like, being fit is much more than just what you're doing in the gym. It's a overall active lifestyle. And it's funny because even now, people who I've known for a while they just thought Live Fit came from my nickname, and then I put fit at the end of it. But in genuinely all regard, like, when I was 17, I chose it because I was like, it also makes sense because it's like you're living fit, living an active lifestyle like I wanted to. But people that I know now like never got that. And then when it like comes up in conversation sometimes, and they're like, no way, like that's actually so sick. I didn't know it actually like meant that. Da, 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 da. So if you didn't make that click, I've always thought it was like super very obvious, but I totally understand. Some people they just didn't make the connect. So that's what Live Fit is, and that's kind of the play on words with it. So I personally still love the name, even though I came up with it when I was 17, you know, like 5 years ago, because it's just amazing to me because it's so applicable to so many different facets of my life. And that's the thing, like, obviously I'm a more evolved human as I was when I was 17 years old. And the beauty of it all, and like the beauty of the name of the brand and the beauty of kind of the mission behind the brand, was that it has been able to evolve with me as I've grown as a person. So it's still so fitting for the different facets that now Livfiit has adopted, because like I was saying, it used to only kind of be about staying active physically. And if you guys know anything about me, if you keep up with any of my YouTube channels or, you know, my Instagram content, it's very much so centered now around like holistic health, like just the many facets of overall wellness and well-being, rather than just how many hours you put in the gym during the week, which used to be like my only thought pattern. But, you know, I really dive deep into your mental health, your soulful health, your emotional health, spirituality. I think it's totally a multifaceted picture now when we think of health. And it became very clear to me throughout my fitness journey, because it got to a point, which this is a story for a different day, but it came to a point where I genuinely couldn't progress in the way that I wanted to in my quote unquote fitness journey without attending to other areas of my life first. And kind of cover all bases, cover all troops, make sure all troops were up to speed, and then be able to move forward and evolve as a person. So it still holds so much room for me to continue growing, for this brand to continue pivoting. Like I said, now with all of my like mental health content, my emotional health content, if you will, my spirituality, it all still completely ties in very seamlessly, in my opinion, with the Livfiit name, because again, it's just overall living a healthy lifestyle, which can mean so many things to so many different people, and without a doubt encompasses so many different lanes of living. And something that I've never actually fully said before, I feel like maybe I mentioned it on one of my YouTube lives before, but the thing with the Livfiit brand, like I said previously, how I see it as a brand, right, and not like me being necessarily an influencer, like Livfiit to me is how I describe it now. It's honestly hard for me to describe what Livfiit means to me and like the true genuine meaning of the brand, like putting it into tangible words, because it just so much has led to the point of what it is now today. It's more so just like a feeling inside of me, and I just almost struggle to explain it to people. But like, in my best way to try to describe what the brand truly is, what the mission truly is, what it means to me, like Livfiit is honestly like my highest alignment. Livfiit is my best self. Livfiit is my ideal way of living life. Like Livfiit to me, when I speak about it, when I preach about it, when each Instagram post, you know, each piece of content that I put out is in hopes to help shape my overall brand message of, you know, leading a way of life. It's a movement. It's a way of living. That's how I see it. And circling back to how I said, I feel like it's my highest alignment. Like to me, again, I don't necessarily think that I'm like this perfect person who is like, you know, in charge of Livfiit. Like Livfiit is something that I'm even striving to work towards, to come into alignment with, just like I'm hoping you guys are as well. Livfiit is just me living my best life, and not even just me. I hope all you guys feel the same way. Like Livfiit is just this highest alignment that I'm trying to strive for in order to become my best self, to live my best life, whether that's me being consistent in the gym, whether that's me showing up super authentically in my life, whether that's allowing myself to be vulnerable because I know that's healthy for my emotions, whether that's me, you know, living life with a loving heart space and pushing love out into my environment and embodying love, all of that sort of stuff. Like Livfiit just is my highest alignment with my best life. And my best life is 100% going to look different than what your idea of your best life is, but that's still the beauty of it. That doesn't mean that, the motto of living fit or the thought of live fit, like, can't still motivate you. It's just, I hope it's a target for you to strive for, to live your best life, to become your best self. And so that's just why I love it so much. Cause like, if I'm feeling down, if I'm feeling like, oh, I don't want to do that, I'm like, live fit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, oh, I need to show up maturely in this situation, in a relationship, even though it's really hard for me to live fit, like take the higher road. So it's kind of, I guess it's like how the best way I would describe it. But like I said, it has changed and shifted and morphed and evolved in the most beautiful way as I've grown as a person. Like I said, this has been around for 5 years, and I really have only picked up some sort of traction within this past few months. And I truly feel like the growth of this brand is an exact mirror of the growth that I had to go through as a person to get to this point. And this is still just the beginning of everything and the impact I want to have. But I just am saying it's such a beautiful, I know I could go on and on, but I just truly love it because that's also why I love the word evolve and evolution, and how I have evolve into your best self on my podcast cover art, because it's just, this is a constant journey, right? Life is a constant journey. We always think it's a destination that we're trying to strive for, but really what it truly is the actual action of going through the process. It's the journey of it. And I think that's exactly what Livfiit is representing of as well, because living fit is super indicative of the actual process of going through it, the process of becoming, as opposed to once you've became. So I just really, really love it. It's really helped me push through hard times, and it has grown into something even more beautiful as a result of me going through those hard times. When I was at my lowest point with the relationship with myself, like I said, I was I thought health only had to do with how many hours you spent in the gym from a week to week basis, like truly. And it wasn't until I had like a really low point with myself, the least amount of confidence I'd had with myself, the most disconnected I've ever felt for myself, that's when I discovered, journaling, affirmations, practicing gratitude. And that added a whole other facet to this brand that I think makes it such a beautiful brand and such a beautiful place. And I can go on and on about that, like when I dove into spirituality, and that's what helped me gain more awareness with myself and emotional awareness and emotional intelligence, that sort of thing. And that added a whole other facet to the brand again. So I think it really speaks on behalf of the beauty and the process of life, and how much the point of life is growth and lessons and overcoming, and that each hardship and even each positive situation that comes in our life that we want to focus on as well, everything is sculpting you and molding you as it should. And each piece, each new thing you go through is just adding another experience in your bank of life, and it's just making you a richer human being. Again, whether quote unquote good or bad, which everything is good in terms of the greater good, because it's leading you to an evolution as a human being. But again, just the point of life, in my opinion, is overall going through the process. And I think Livfiit really echoes that point of actually going through the process to keep refining who you are and to keep bettering who you are, to therefore just get the most out of this life. So with all that being said, if you have seen anything about like my logo, if you will, like my stickers that I have, or like my YouTube banner, I have butterflies. Even on this podcast cover art, I have butterflies as my logo. And I kind of wanted to give a little brief explanation of that, because again, I think it really goes hand in hand with the brand. And in terms of like merch and stuff that's going to be coming like later down the road, definitely butterflies are going to always be involved. And I want them to I want you guys to know that they're relevant, and not like me being the majority of 2020 people who just butterflies are trendy right now. It's no secret. So I don't want you to think oh, she just stuck butterflies on them because it's trendy. This runs much deeper than that. So butterflies are my spirit animal, in case you don't know. I don't know if you guys resonate with that, but I do. And I know if I say that, so many of you guys are going to roll your eyes or be like, okay, her spirit animal was was that self-proclaimed? Did she just want that because they're pretty? I totally understand, but I'm telling you, I have a full-on story for this, and then just synchronicities on synchronicities after the fact, that it's okay, you can't just tell me this is a coincidence, because I don't even believe in coincidences. But anyways, so when I was in high school, again, this goes back when I was 17. Like, this wasn't some trendy little thing that I picked up like a year and a half ago. Like, this happened 5 freaking years ago. Senior in high school. Granted, I went to a smaller high school, so there wasn't really much room for like diversity, if you will, or kind of like, you know, a difference in teaching. It just was a very straightforward school. And there was one specific class that was pretty new, and there was one teacher at that high school who was like totally off his rocker, which I was not into spirituality back then, and now I am into spirituality. So he just was super spiritual, but I just didn't even know. And he started a class. It was only a semester long class, so it was half of a year, and it was called Planet Earth. And it actually was low key, like super spiritual, but like no one really knew. But looking back now, like that's when I first heard of law of attraction. We did energy testing. I think we talked about crystals. We read like a super spiritual book. I think it's called Ishmael or something like that. And he just like was the first one to like tell me about like tapping into your energy and all this sort of stuff. And so for whatever reason, he wanted to go around the class one day and say what he felt our spirit animal was. Awesome. He gets to me and he doesn't really know a lot about me because also, granted, senior year of high school, this was the fall time. I had gone through my first ever breakup. My first ever boyfriend had cheated on me. So basically, like, I was a wreck constantly 24/7, super emotional person. Again, if you know anything about me, I was hit like a ton of bricks. Story for a different day again. But regardless, it was the first class of the day at that point. And I was like always emotional, like mornings and nighttime. I don't know if you like, I just was always emotional. So first class of the day, I was like still halfway, like genuinely in tears as he's going around saying this. He gets to me. I'm like barely able to freaking concentrate. Like I said, he didn't really know anything about me. And he said that he felt that I was a butterfly. And he said, because not only do I have like external beauty, but I have a lot of internal beauty, which I know that may seem weird, like a male older teacher was saying that I had external beauty, but like I'm telling you, it wasn't weird like that at all. And that I have like the ability to see things from a bird's eye perspective. Like I don't get really caught up in the like minutiae, tiny details. I just am able to see like the broader holistic picture, which is like totally me. And that I'm very like delicate in my touch, but I have the potential for a lot of impact and am still a powerful force. So things like that. I don't really remember what else he said, but those were like the main things that stuck out to me. But again, he didn't really know anything about me, and like those things that he said like really resonated with me at the time. And so, okay, cool. Some of you guys are still like, okay, so some random freaking teacher who was a little bit out there said that you're a butterfly. But get this. So then the town that I grew up in is on like a smaller lake. So I was paddleboarding. This was now like the springtime still of my senior year. I was paddleboarding and I saw a butterfly like face down in the water, and I genuinely thought it was dead. But you know, you can never actually like really truly look at butterfly wings because they're always moving around all the time. So I was like, okay, I at least just want to be able to like look at its butterfly wings. And I remembered that like that teacher back in the fall said that a butterfly was my spirit animal. So I was like extra intrigued. So I picked it up with my paddle. I put it on my paddleboard, and I'm not kidding you guys. Like this thing was freaking face down, like wings out, just splattered on my paddleboard. Like straight up thought it was dead. By the time I got back to shore, this thing had freaking woken up. I don't want to say it like resurrected from the dead. I think that may be a little bit much. I think it kind of was passed out in the water, like coughing, like came up, like I put on my paddleboard, he like coughed up the water and like, you know, got resituated. But I'm not kidding. By the time we got to the shore, this freaking thing was sitting upright and its wings were back up together. And I was like, yo, this thing is freaking alive. And I thought it was like the sickest thing, because then I was like, yo, I just freaking saved a butterfly. Like, congrats. So I straight up picked this thing up, and it was on my hand for literally a solid 10 minutes. I still have photos. And this thing, it kept opening up its wings and closing its wings, opening its wings and closing its wings. And it was just like it was just an incredible experience. Like it was genuinely this wild freaking butterfly that low-key kind of just came back from the dead, and I'm holding it in my hands as it's like getting its wits again. And so again, I was holding it for like 10 minutes, and then eventually it just completely flew out of my hand and said sayonara. And it just was like super like a beautiful experience. But it doesn't end there. About 2 years later, I went to New Zealand with my brother, and we were in Queenstown, New Zealand. I remember this like so freaking clearly. I really wanted to go shopping. because I was in freaking New Zealand and I wanted like something to bring home. And, you know, being with your older brother, that's like the last thing he wants to do. So he was like, okay, fine, I'll sit in this Starbucks and just do work while you go like shop around for a little bit. Then like, let's go. I don't want to be long. I was like, okay, Ankara. So I was going to go just like look at a few shops, and first I really had to go pee. So I went to the bathroom, and it wasn't like, you know how there's like normal shops on the street where like the door is right on the street side? There was like kind of a mallish type thing, like a complex. And that's where I went to the bathroom. So I went into this door, and then there's like a mini mall, and there's like multiple stores in it. I went to their bathroom. But like, since it was the evening time, it was nighttime, a lot of the stores in that vicinity were closed. And except there was one store, like genuinely in the back corner of this building. Like, I'm not kidding, like back freaking corner. Everything, all the other things, like all the other shops or lights were off. And for whatever reason, when I came out of the bathroom, I was like, I want to go in there. I have no clue why. Like, it didn't look inviting. But I was like, I want to go in there. I go in. And at the time, I really was looking for a ring, because ever since my teacher had said that I had wanted like a butterfly ring, because if you know, I wear a ton of rings all the time, but I hadn't been able to come across like the perfect one. Like, I wear my rings every day, so it needed to be like the perfect fit. It needs to be practical. You know how it goes. So I asked the lady in there, she's like, can I help you with anything? And I was like, yes, like, where are your rings? She points me to her little ring box. I kid you not, I look down, and the first one I see is this like literal perfect, flawless butterfly ring. I'm wearing it right now. I'm way too freaking emotionally attached to this, but it's perfect. It's like sterling silver. It's the perfect amount of details. Like, everything is just perfect. It lays flat. It doesn't get in my way. And anyway, so yada yada, I buy it because it's perfect. Later that night, when we're back, I am looking at I'm on my phone finally. And you know how in New Zealand, like the time zone is so off. It's like so drastic that the days are even off. But regardless, I'm looking at my Snapchat memories, and what was exactly, literally to the day, exactly 2 years previously, was 2 years ago exactly, was the same day that I saved the butterfly from the lake. Which, like, that to me is like insane. Like, it's like crazy synchronicities like that I'm like, you're kidding. So I was like, wow, like something's up. And at that point in time in my life, like, honestly, from like for the past like from like senior year of high school until that 2 years afterwards, like when I was a sophomore in college, I would see I don't know how much you guys are into numerology, but like I would see 9:14 and 9:41 on the clock constantly, AM, PM, everything, all the time. It just was like my number. Ever since I had gone through that bad breakup with my first boyfriend, like for whatever reason, it was always like so apparent to me. And so regardless, like kind of minor detail, but just like another little thing. Then I did the conversion because I wanted to see how much money I spent on the ring from like New Zealand dollars to US dollars, like completely innocent. I just was trying to budget. And it literally ended up being $19.14. I was like, I actually am done. So those are just like a few examples of how much I'm like connected to butterflies. I genuinely have tons of other stories where I just have come across them, or I don't, just like very weirdly specific synchronistic experiences with butterflies. And now like when I see them, I think that they're just like a really huge sign to me. So that's why they're involved like in all of my branding, if you will. And it also seamlessly goes and non-coincidentally goes with this whole brand as a whole, with the process of becoming and, you know, evolving into your best self, that whole thing, like, and turning inward to become that best self. Just like how, you know, there's a caterpillar, it retreats back into itself, into the cocoon, becomes its best self from the inside out, and evolves into this beautiful butterfly. So it beautifully works really freaking well with the brand as well, which again is not a freaking coincidence in my eyes. So to wrap up this first episode, I love it first, like I definitely am a little bit nervous for this podcast because I'm like, am I going to be able to actually like think of things to say all this like every week, all this stuff? Literally, like, this is already seamlessly going to be easily a 40 freaking minute podcast episode. So I guess I have nothing to worry about because I can talk for forever. But I just wanted to do a little bit of give you guys just what you can expect on this podcast, if you will. So overall, because like I said, I started very much so in the fitness niche, but overall, my intention with this platform is to pretty much share like my overall philosophy of life, but that is what I feel like is really represented in the brand. That's what Livfiit has morphed into, is kind of just like my approach to living life, like how I want to live life in every single realm. So I think this podcast, again, is going to be very holistic, very inclusive. It's going to be talking about like my fitness, gym tips, tips, things about nutrition. Like I want to help you guys with that for sure. Like my fitness journey experiences, absolutely, like the things that I've learned. But I also really want to share like my perspective on things, like how I gained emotional intelligence, how I've become more aware of my life, like how I've been able to live more consciously, how I have like different perspective shifts, that sort of things that help me just genuinely, again, like live my best life and hopefully like help you guys genuinely evolve into a better human as well. And just essentially, like I wanted this to be a place where I can actually speak out all the things that I think about from day to day, because I'm a really big thinker, and talk about topics that are like genuinely I'm very, very passionate about, like kind of like the deep talks that you would have if you're friends, if you will, but be able to share them with you guys, because a lot of the things that I think about and some of the things that I'm passionate about just aren't suited to be communicated to you guys through like Instagram and through like a YouTube video, so I think this is going to be a perfect medium to share these kind of deeper concepts with you guys, and again to hopefully elevate all of us by extending the conversation, getting deeper into the conversation, and just kind of leveling up as a whole. And this is just a little something that goes with that I kind of want to involve into every single episode, because you guys know how freaking huge I am on gratitude and affirmation. So I didn't do it this episode, but I will start next episode. I want to start each one saying one thing that I'm grateful for, and then I want to leave you guys with one affirmation for you guys to like take with you and to embody and to think about and to step into for your week ahead, because I'm planning, my goal is to post a podcast every single Monday, so then I'm hoping to leave you guys with that little affy to kind of guide you into that week ahead and just a power for you to step into for your week ahead. In terms of having guests on, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are curious about that, as of now, my game plan is to have this solo podcast. Not to say that I will not have guests in the future. I just need to see like where this goes, how much this evolves, how much this grows. But I would love to have guests on. I would love to pick people's brains. I listen to podcasts both with just solo hosts and also with co-hosts and also with hosts who always have guests on. So if anything, I would dabble in guests in the future, but I think like the majority of my episodes, kind of regardless of where this goes, is going to be me as a solo host. But that's not to say I won't have guests come into play. Like I said, I'm planning on launching new episodes every Monday, and then ideally my YouTube schedule is still going to be Tuesdays and Fridays, so we'll see how that goes. And with that being said, I am, if you don't know, if you're listening to this through the like Apple Podcast or Spotify, I have been filming this whole freaking thing. So this is going to be going up on my YouTube channel as well, so you guys can watch it, which I'm super excited about, because now I feel like I'm hosting a web show. But as of right now, I believe this is going to be just on my normal YouTube channel, because everything will just be in one place for you guys. Because again, I don't want this to be something separate. I want it to just be under the umbrella of the brand Livfiit. So I still want it, I think, just on my normal Livfiit YouTube channel, but I'll have a playlist for Livfiit Listens where you can watch all the podcasts. I love when podcasts are visual as well and recorded, because sometimes like I want to listen to a freaking podcast, but I'm not walking, I'm not in the car, and like there comes to a point where like I just would rather watch it, because I'm a weird people watcher and I like to look at everyone's mannerisms. And if you've seen any of my YouTube videos, you know how freaking animated I am as a person. So I thought it would be rather silly for me not to record this and also put it on my YouTube channel. So, wow, this is absolutely crazy, you guys. I think we're coming down to close out this first freaking episode. If you did watch or listen all the way up until this point, I cannot thank you enough for your love and support. Even if you stopped in for a little bit, I'm sure now you're not hearing this if you're not here, but regardless, thank you just to everyone who clicked on the video, who stayed on the podcast, all of that good stuff. I'm really excited for this. This podcast episode was already super important to me, because I talked about some things that have been so important to me for so many years, and so many concepts that are like a fundamental part of who I am and the fundamentals of what I'm so passionate about. So I hope you guys really enjoyed the episode. I'm really excited to dive into more helpful topics for you guys that you can like apply into your life. I think I want to leave you guys with an affirmation already for this episode, just because I'm feeling like super empowered and honestly proud of myself for finally sitting down and doing this, and just excited for where this is going to go and the potential that we hold together, and hopefully the impact that I'm going to have on you guys, just like all of us as a whole in this community. So I just want to say, for the affirmation for this week is that I unapologetically step into my power and create the life of my dreams. So there you have it, guys. Again, I really hope you enjoyed it. I'm sending you guys so much love, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.